high. Straight thing.
Survive 5.
Hall of Famer Tito Santana.
Built 5 wrestling going up.
Stuff. Just enjoy wrestling.
Wedding by Jeans, bro.
What's your opinion?
And something like that than I have ever found. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Tan, welcome to YouTube Live.
That's right. Welcome to YouTube Live for the first time here
Yeah.
for Kill 5 Wrestling.
You know, I figured after, a fun Facebook Live talking about women, I felt we kind of deserved to go on YouTube Live and talk about some wrestling that we both really thoroughly enjoy, like AEW's Fyter Fest.
Yeah, hell of a show, man.
Yeah, we've kind of got a reputation on Facebook of being a little snarky at points,
That's what
a
they
little
say.
over the top, kind of the assholes. What is it? Podcast killers. We've been kicked off shows, during shows. We've shredded stuff. Some people don't like us, and that's okay. We're the bad boys of podcasting. It's kind of what we do.
We shake it up.
But we don't really care for WWE's product. We haven't cared for the WWE product in a long time. In fact, probably the only time that I did care was when it was the only product for me to watch.
Yeah.
So we've kind of bonded over our love of Ring of Honor first and then AEW really. And AEW Fyter Fest was last night live on Max, TNT, TBS, whatever. And Tan, what were your thoughts on Fyter Fest?
Altogether, I thought it was fantastic. I think Tony Khan is an absolute lunatic for doing a 4-hour show on a random Wednesday night, and he's even crazier for doing it again next week.
Oh, absolutely. It's not like he gave us a 4-hour show that was 6 matches and 40 minutes of talking. Hey,
Right. Well, it did start out with the Ospreay promo.
But it was a warranted promo. Like, I don't mind if promos are warranted, but I don't need ads the whole time. And Tony
I don't really
doesn't
need
do
the
that.
crew. I don't really need the crew.
You don't need them, but the match against Leo Rush on Collision was fun.
Awesome. You mean
That was a
Fyter Fest Part
blast.
2?
And you know what? Leo Rush actually got my wife to be like, well, who's this cute little feller? So it got her eyes on the show. It worked. Perfect.
Life's
That's
work.
the job, Tony. Get eyes on the product. So I can't remember the match order. You're going to have to help me out with that. I'm old.
Yeah, so the first match that happened was Moxley and Mark Briscoe.
Briscoe didn't quit again. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Briscoe didn't tap. He ain't wearing no mouthpiece. He ain't going to tap.
I'm so tired of the damn sleeper hold finish.
I'm so tired of the Death Riders at this point.
Yeah, me too, man.
Really ready for them to just move on.
But fun match.
It was. It was a fun match. Simple run-in, garbage, hangman. It's the same AEW, just get me to the pay-per-view. With the Death Riders, just get me to the pay-per-view. At this point, the only reason that I watch the Death Riders is to see someone beat Moxley.
Yeah, it's going to make it sweeter.
Yeah.
Well, then from there, we go to me, the most memorable thing that happened this night, because to my recollection, I don't ever remember anyone eating a steak and drinking wine at ringside during a match.
Well, you called me during this because of Taz's commentary.
Yeah.
Immediately, you're like, "Did you pop for shoot steak?" No, I didn't. Okay, it was great. I actually popped more for Tony being the one to take a big bite out of it.
Yeah, that baffled me, man. Just the visual of her with 4 belts sitting at ringside eating a steak.
3 belts. She's lost one.
3 belts, sorry. While Taz is like, "Is that a shoot steak, Tony?"
That's why
it's shoot steak.
She's the runner-up in our greatest women's wrestler of all time tournament. Mercedes won.
That's true.
Sorry, not sorry. Or Timeless Tony won it. Sorry.
Right. So that leads us to the match.
Well,
Speaking of Timeless Tony.
yeah. Tony and Mina, they won. I love Tony and Mina together.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
I really
to see
like
those
Julie
two.
and Sky Blue.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that I really love the two of them together, but I love Julie on her own.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, I really like Julie's character. I'm going to need Sky to grow more for me.
I feel like we're getting to the point where we're going to have women's tag team titles. I feel like we've very heavily been doing the women's tags lately. We know what we're doing.
Definitely. We've got 3 solid tag teams with Megan Bain, Penelope Ford, Ty Mello, and Anna Jay, and literally just talking about them.
Tony and Mina?
Yeah, Tony and Mina.
Yeah.
Or Sky and Julia, rather.
Well, yes.
Like, we're building a tag division with all these. Like, and I appreciate that. You can even count Athena and Billy Starks.
Yeah, you can, for sure.
Absolutely.
Also, Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie are teaming on Ring of Honor. So
there we go. See, we've got a good foundation here. You could even count Queen Aminata and Lady Frost. Like, we're planting seeds for them. It's a good opportunity. I like this.
Good.
Another thing that I personally really liked last night was that 6-man tag.
Yes, you messaged me about the 6-man tag.
Yeah, I was like, this is great because it was like watching old school WCW.
Well, before that, Commander comes out. Well, Commander Speedball and Kevin Knight came out, and they start cutting promos back and forth. The Commander cuts an awesome promo in and out of Spanish.
Yeah, against MJF.
Against MJF, right.
Yeah, and the Hurt Business because they want to.
Yeah. Syndicate.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. Hurt Syndicate. Fine. They hurt people.
They do hurt
people. We hurt people. Yeah, I enjoyed that Hurt Syndicate promo. I like that we are making it seem like we're forcing MJF. I think it's great that we're making MJF wrestle more. I feel like he's someone that we should be focusing more of the product on. I'm assuming he had some health issues that were still kind of lingering, plus the movie roles, so he couldn't get as physical. I get that. Yeah. That's fine. Hopefully now we're back to wrestling full time for a little while at least.
So we already touched on the faces coming out.
Yeah, the faces came out. So LFI kind of has that bump in with.
So let me tell you something about LFI right now. LFI looked so cool when they came out on Fyter Fest last night. And I said, man, we got to get some gold on these guys in 2025.
Roosh!
For sure. I'm a big Roosh guy.
Dude, Dralistico won me over with that dive last night. Well,
Dralistico's really good.
I don't know how to describe it.
Just watch.
You know what it is when he dove off the top rope onto the shoulders and flipped him over. It does kind of feel that way, doesn't it? Like,
I haven't really thought about that, but very dependable, same kind of weight class kind of guy.
Yeah, he's somebody it's almost like he's getting shoved in our faces, even if we weren't fans of him at first.
He's a working machine.
Yeah, he is. He's a great worker. Fair point.
Good question,
Mrs. Bird.
Yeah, but the match was great. My favorite spot of the match is because I don't think I've ever seen it. They carried LFI carried Speedball like they were carrying a casket and then chucked him into his partners.
I liked that one, but for me, it was Dralistico's dive.
Yeah.
And that whole move, like I rewound it
stuff.
And was like, what the shit was that? Because it looked so perfect. Everything looked perfect because that's how lucha should be. I love Mortos's new mask.
Yeah, Mortos looked really cool last night.
That one was a nice new mask. I really dug that. So,
well, after that, Aaron, we hear from Don Callis, who tells us that Hechicero is the greatest luchador of all time.
Well, after that match with Danielson, I can believe it.
Danielson can make anybody look like that, though, just for the record.
Well, that's fair. But Hechicero has lived up to the hype.
He's really, really good. I'm a big fan of Hechicero.
Yeah. So
and that leads us to
And that's a teaser for Collision hour 3 of a 4-hour program tonight.
Yep. Well, that brings us to squash match.
Well, that's Max. Let's go, Max. You're the best.
You're the best wrestler
alive.
alive.
Let's go. It was fun.
I love the gimmick. I really thought R-Truth was gonna walk out last night on Dynamite.
I appreciate that he came out and said, "Who can last 5?" And it gave me a great clip to get. Thanks, Max. Look, we've been fans of the Acclaimed since they were the Acclaimed, and we're both fans of them now. So keep it going, guys. Hobbs getting a very dominant victory. That's fair, actually. Jericho, Ring of Honor World Title, I think is about the biggest that he's had. And that one was even on Ring of Honor.
Hey, I love Claudio. We're not going to besmirch Claudio.
Yeah, Claudio certainly could have won the main event last night. I'd have been fine with that.
Yeah.
But Omega won the main event.
Squash Match Jones, which brought us to Omega versus Brody versus Claudio versus Mascara Dorada, who is also very young and very awesome.
He is. I thought Brody's new pants were a little weird. I know
they were interesting.
Odd that I'm going to point that out, but you get used to a look with a guy.
Yeah.
I'll
get used to him. It kind of suited him.
I will. I feel like that kind of suits this new style.
For sure.
So I'm excited for Brody to actually be getting a singles push.
Yeah.
And it was a fun match. Omega proving that he is the best bout machine still when he wants to be.
Undisputed. You can't take it away from him.
Well, and then a Rainmaker shows up to try and take that away from him.
And we'll get back to that a little later.
Well, no, that's who shows up after Omega.
No, I know. We'll touch more back on Omega and Okada later, is what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, because we're following the show in order.
We are. Okada comes out at the end of Omega's 4-way.
Right.
And bumps into Omega, and they start throwing blows. And we then learn that there's going to be a huge announcement. Tony Khan loves his huge announcements.
Right before the main event.
That's why everybody needs to stay tuned in.
If you check Twitter at all during the show, everybody knew that was going to be the announcement.
What's funny is I was on Reddit more.
Yeah.
And on Facebook more, and I was seeing people being like, "Oh, it's going to be women's tag belts."
Twitter was full of "Get ready for Okada Omega."
I figured like that's not an announcement. Yeah. To me, you gave that away at the end of Dynamite.
I mean, that is a huge match because that'll be the first time it's ever happened in America.
And it will be a great match. And I think that anybody in Texas should be going to it, looking at you, Melina Brad.
Yeah, Melina.
It's Mama Melina. She's in Texas. Anyways.
As we do, as we pivot,
we get Nigel McGuinness to come out.
Yep.
Good friend of the channel as he starts doing commentary on Collision. And we get the aforementioned Will Ospreay and Lio Rush match.
Which was a lot of fun.
9-minute bouncing around fun match. I enjoy those kind of things.
That's right. That's what it's all about.
Doesn't hurt Leo to eat that loss. And it makes Will get in a decent 9-minute match. Like, that's kind of the point of television. So I loved it. To me, honestly, I was really looking forward to this next tag match and kind of hoping that FTR would lose.
I kind of thought they were going to build something. For a minute, I thought they were going to lose.
Well, I thought that would lead to a rematch in Mexico, whatever.
For the Grand Slam Mexico. Yeah.
But
so we got FTR versus Atlantis Jr. and Templario. And Aaron, we've talked about it all day. Templario's got the coolest mask I've ever seen.
He does. Absolutely. So yeah, of course they lost. FTR won. It was another fun match. Did you catch that they declared that FTR had beaten 50 teams?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't think it's 50 teams. I think it's 50 matches.
Yeah, they said 50, and actually, to be precise, they said 53 different teams in AEW.
Yeah, has there been 53 different teams in AEW? I feel like that's a little far-fetched.
Dude, honestly, though, I bet they're padding the stats from the old Dark numbers.
Probably.
Because they would just pump together any random two and have squash matches all over Dark.
Yeah, they did back in the day.
But, so that brings us to... by the way, before we move on, what did you think about Stokely's tracksuit?
Honestly, I felt it was a little distracting. I didn't
loved
like
it.
it this week. I like it
My
more when it
smoking
kind
hot
of...
nail tech girlfriend hated it.
Well, good. I agree with X-Tina. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the outfit this week. I feel like it clashed with FTR's look more than I wanted it to.
Well, that's okay, man, because you know who we are big fans of.
Well, Protashita.
The Don Callis. The Don Callis
Protashita
family. The Don
and
Callis family.
Hechicero. Yes,
Kyle
we love
Fletcher.
the Don Callis family.
Kanosuke Takeshita.
Takeshita and Hechicero.
With the greatest manager of all time, Don Callis.
Against Bandito.
And Los Outrunners.
Yeah. Truth, Magnamo, and Turbo Floydo.
That was awesome. I popped so hard for that.
Look, I'm very much the bitter, like, this is stupid about this kind of stuff. So I was just rolling my eyes, rooting for the Callis family even more. That's fine, though, because I love to see the Outrunners get beat up because they have that stupid, lame gimmick. We're the oldest tag team. Oh, God, go on. So, yeah, they ate it. I was glad to see that. Bandito, I feel like we're leading up to probably Bandito and Hechicero at Mexico Grand Slam.
I would imagine so.
Or Grand Slam Mexico, whatever. What have
And
you.
I think even after we get through with Grand Slam Mexico, we're going to build probably Takeshita or Fletcher versus shoot.
Bandito.
I just drew a complete blank. Versus Bandito for the Ring of Honor belt. Sorry,
I figure we get Fletcher and Bandito at what is it? Super Card of Honor?
That would be awesome.
Whatever the one before All In Weekend. The All In Weekend ROH paper.
Should be Super Card.
No offense to ROH at this point, but I can't keep up.
Sorry, Karen.
And then next we had a match that was built on Collision earlier with Christian.
We did forget to touch on the return of Christian and Nick Wayne.
Yes. Nick Wayne came in with his television title, won a very fun four-way that I actually thought he might lose.
There was various points of that match that I thought Lee Johnson was going to win that damn thing.
Well, yeah, and on paper, he was the least likely to win the match. That's the beauty of AEW.
He's getting better. He's getting better every single time he's on TV. I like him and Blake Christian as a group. I hope we do more with the two of them.
Yeah. I hope that, to me, that is ROH tag team potential right there, immediately. I don't make them eat pins to the point that they're useless.
No.
I feel like that's kind of what we've done with the infantry at this point.
Yeah, and the infantry's cool.
The
infantry is really cool. Yeah.
But when you see them, they're never going to win. I don't want Blake Christian and Lee Johnson, I started to say Leo Rush, to be the next Leo Rush and Action Andretti.
Well, like you said, Nick Wayne wins a really, really fun four-way.
Yeah, just no sell my opinion there. It's okay. Speaking of women's titles, yeah.
There you go.
Thekla
Thank God Crystal's watching.
Shows up to beat up Lady Frost.
Well, what I was going to say was, speaking of somebody that every time you see, you know they're going to lose, Lady Frost was taking on Thekla. I think Lady Frost is really good, and I wish they did a little bit more with her, even if it was in Ring of Honor.
Well, I feel like maybe the ROH tag team titles would be a good scene for her. Or whatever comes of the AEW tag team titles. I feel like her and Queen Aminata Will make a good tag team. I like Tekla.
I like Tekla a lot. That's the first time I've ever seen a Tekla match. I know a little bit about her history. I've read her in the dirt sheets and stuff like that. But she really impressed me. Her entrance was cool. It was like having our own version of Stephanie Vacor.
It was with less of the hassle.
Yeah,
I feel like, and it was a good match. I hope that we continue to build her up. I feel like maybe she can be our live Valkyrie.
She really looked mean when she was giving the eyes to the camera.
Yeah.
I said, "Damn, dude, she looks mean."
And then we get for the main event, Callis family comes back out.
Yep, and it is Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, Trent, and Rocky with Don Callis versus
against the Paragon, Adam Cole, baby, Roderick Strong, Daniel Garcia, and Kyle
O'Reilly with Daddy Magic.
Yeah, weren't they just beating up Daddy Magic a couple of weeks ago?
Probably.
I thought they were.
I don't know anymore.
To get Danny to give Adam Cole a title shot.
To be honest with you, I'm so checked out from Adam Cole. I don't really keep.
I don't blame it
anymore.
And they're still trying to build him up. He wins this match. Honestly, I would have preferred if Alexander had gotten the win and pinned
Alexander starts needing to get some wins, and we're making him lose a little too much here early on.
Yeah, maybe Alexander should have gotten the pin on Adam Cole to gave us a TNT title match.
100%.
That would have made a lot of sense, but instead.
I know Alexander will shine when tournament season starts up. So,
yeah, like I do love the fact while AEW is very predictable at points, they're quality matches every week. So you're
never going to be disappointed in a match card.
No, you're going to get quality every week. You're going to get to see stars every week, and that's why people who are leaving the WWE's product over some of their recent releases should make sure to check out AEW. You know, if you're upset about R-Truth or maybe Carlito.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like that segue?
I did like that segue. I thought you were going somewhere else with it.
No. We have our sponsors there behind us, Stover's Liquidation.
That's right.
See the Oak Ridge location, 481 Tulsa Road, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Great place for any wholesale home improvement needs. They've got liquidation deals all the time. Great quality products.
They've even got truckload quantities available.
Yeah, you can get whatever you do. They have so much flooring. It is ridiculous over there right now. Great deals that will beat anything you're going to find around here even. So if you're in need, go see Stover's Liquidation. Hit them up online. Tell them Till 5 sent you. But back to the fun stuff.
Carlito, Caribbean Cool.
What to do with Carlito? I feel like Carlito would be a great hand to go to the NWA. Just imagine Tom Latimer wins his next title defense. He's posing with the belt. Carlito comes in, nails him with a backcracker, poses with the belt. Or backstabber, whatever they're calling it.
I've always loved the backstabber.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Always been a big fan. I think that's the perfect way to introduce him in that company because he is a main event star for the NWA.
And Primo and Epico are working there too.
Yeah, so
you get the
makes
colognes.
Sense.
In fact, NWA could benefit from having a stable like
that
the
3 colons are better than 1.
That's what they say. That's what ATB says.
I know that it's colognes, not colons.
But it's spelled the same.
Yep. Anyways, that's what I would do with Carlito 100% because he's somebody who's going to get a chance to rebuild his career. Hopefully he does it for the better. Next, we're going to talk about 2 guys who really didn't do it for the better, unfortunately. Rellik and Black Reign, a favorite subject of ours.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the Rellik is actually killer spelled backwards. If you can believe that.
Way.
It is. Killer spelled backwards. Mike Tenay only reminded us of that 17 times an episode of TNA.
Yeah, I know. I know. What? Oh my God. Yeah, he
God,
always makes sure
rest in
that's not-
peace, Don West. You had the best
Yeah.
reactions every time, too.
I wonder if Don could have got us a deal on a Rellik rookie card.
Probably.
Only $5.99.
Well, let me tell you how it starts for Black Reign, man.
Yeah, tell
So,
me, because
Dustin-
that's one thing I will say. I don't remember how Black Reign got introduced into TNA.
Well, it actually starts out kind of cool.
Well, I want to say this, and before we really get into this segment, I know that this is a sore subject for Dustin. Personally, I thought it was a cool look. I feel like it was what the 7 character would have been if Vince Russo had gotten his role.
I grew up with Black Reign. Like, I liked it.
I did too. Looking back, though, I can see why. Because there wasn't a lot of pretty Black Reign matches. Unless Kazarian was involved.
Well, most of them were hardcore matches and barbed wire Christmas tree bullshit.
Well, at that point, Dustin was in bad shape, personally. And I want to say that this is not a stab at Dustin Rhodes personally at all.
No. We love you, Dustin Rhodes.
Legitimately fans of Black Reign. You know, I have a Black Reign autographed card somewhere here in my desk. That's just I'm a fan. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, so Dustin Rhodes returned to TNA in 2007 at Victory Road, and he helped Christian Cage defeat Chris Harris.
Okay.
On the next episode of Impact, Mike Tenay did an interview with Rhodes where Rhodes discussed accusations of having split personalities disorder.
No, he wouldn't have that at all. He hadn't been Gold Dust for years.
But he stated basically, fuck it, there's my one. I'm going to embrace it and let it out. Okay? But the TNA really presented this as an emotional breakdown. If you don't remember this, go back and watch it.
Okay.
So then we fast forward to August 12th at Hard Justice, where he debuts the Black Reign character. And Harris defeats him by disqualification because Black Reign just started attacking referees.
Yeah. That's I get it was a good character. It fit in with that era of TNA, the Abyss, the Rellik, the Judas Messias. It all worked. Rhino even.
And he would switch back and forth between Dustin and Black Reign. He would do promos as Dustin, and then he would come to the ring carrying Misty the rat.
Yeah, the fake rat.
Despite all of Misty's rage, she's still just a rat in a cage.
Legitimately thought maybe when we were talking and spitballing ideas for this flip side face off, maybe Black Reign against Rowan would have been fun.
Yeah, that could have worked.
It could have been fun, but I feel like Dustin's lineage of a career is far better than anybody we could have put him up against.
100%.
So we're throwing away the Rellik character here.
Well, there you go.
It would be nice if people could hit that like button up here. If you could like, subscribe,
very cool.
Share our video. Thank you, Mrs. Bird.
Yeah, thank you, Bird.
Once again, and now Dustin, he had wrestled with as the Natural for a little bit. Then he was Goldust. Then he had the Black Reign character. Can you give me some more highlights of the Black Reign character, or are there any highlights?
So there's really not a lot. That's the interesting thing about, and I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. I'm not trying to be funny. There's really not a lot of highlights for either guy, if we're going to be honest. They didn't last that long.
And I will say, for sure, Rellik had more. Well, Johnny Stamboli didn't have much of a career as Johnny Stamboli.
The standout match that I could say for Black Reign, if I had to pick one, would be a Bound for Glory Monsters Ball match. Is Black Reign versus Abyss versus Rhino versus Raven.
What a shocker.
And it was okay. You know.
For some reason, I remember him having some good matches with Kaz.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken,
or I might just be going see now. I know.
I thought I had one wrote down. I know when I was doing research today that he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but I thought I wrote one down, but I guess I didn't.
But now I don't remember any great matches that Rellik had. I thought Rellik had a better look physically, But Johnny
They had
Stamboli
one-
never really amounted to much in wrestling.
Well,
He had a good look. Let's face it, he was the worst member of the Mamalukes, his first tag team, because everybody knows that Vito, the dog.
no, he was not the worst member. Disco was.
Well, I don't even count him as part of the team.
I'm
I'm just looking at Vito and okay, fair enough. Disco is garbage. We'll get more into Disco being garbage here shortly.
Oh, I got plenty to say about Disco later.
Anyway,
but I will say that first of all, Jeff Jarrett, I guess, was a really big fan of Stamboli's character in Japan. He was doing a red rum gimmick, which is actually murder spelled backwards. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't have went with that for his TNA name, but no, we had
Stamboli's a thinker. Stamboli's a thinker. He comes up with these really great names that can work either way.
Are you sure it was Stamboli that did it?
Probably
because
not.
I feel like that was maybe we need to ask Vince Russo that question.
You know what? We can do that at some point, maybe if we're lucky.
It may be.
Literally the only notable match I have for Rellik was when he teamed with Black Reign against Abyss and Raven at Turning Point 2007 in a match of 10,000 tags.
Yeah. Which really isn't that many thumbtacks when you think about it.
You think it is when you hear it, but they're probably dumping 1,000 at once at any given time.
Yeah. So Tan, let's hear it. Which one's better?
I guess Black Reign. Although I do love the look better, and definitely you could say anything you want to about Stamboli, but that guy was in great shape. Black Reign was more notable. He actually had character arc. He had promo time. Rellik did not. Rellik just showed up one day and started doing hardcore matches.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Black Reign was 100% the better character and better wrestler, honestly, at the end of the day. Stamboli had a good
100%.
look, but just didn't cut it. So, yeah,
Yep, I agree.
100%. Black Reign gets the W from Till 5.
Much respect to both guys. I enjoyed that.
Look at that. Changed the background on us. Uh-oh.
Oh, little Dubby, little seat geek.
Yeah. If you use code Till5 on SeatGeek, you can get $20 off. If you use code Till5 on Dubby, you can get 10% off.
That's right.
Just want to make sure that everybody knows that.
That's TILL 5.
The number 5.
And that's the magic number. All right.
Now, till 2:25 tonight, though, we've got prime time Elix Skipper.
Another guy that I thought had a much longer run than he did.
I loved Elix Skipper. I thought he was a great wrestler.
Yep.
He really didn't do much on WCW Saturday Night when he was working with the name like Skip Over, Skip Me, whatever. It was pretty lame. He made a few appearances. It was completely skippable.
Well, then Team Canada happened.
He came in with to help Lance Storm.
That's right.
Go ahead. I do remember
My hero,
that.
Lance Storm. He came in to help Lance Storm. Became the, what did you call the belt? I can't remember exactly what he calls the belt. The 115
it was
kilo.
105 kilos or under. Oh,
yes, wins the
101. 101 kilos or under.
101. Okay, he wins the Cruiserweight belt, which is the 101 kilos or under belt under Lance Storm's reign, as he is carrying the Canadian Heavyweight Championship, formerly the United States Championship.
Yes. And the hardcore title, the Saskatchewan Hardcore Championship.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan Hardcore Invitational title. Shit. Is what it spelled out. I remember being 13 years old and like, that is the greatest name I have ever heard.
What a great gimmick.
See, you like Lance Storm from ECW. I like Lance Storm from WCW.
What a great gimmick.
It was. Now, that was our introduction to Elix Skipper as a performer. And dude, he was a great wrestler. And yeah, he was an American. He played in the CFL. So that was their loophole for making him part
He's
of
a Canadian sympathizer, just like Brian Pillman was.
Well, he even won like their Grey Cup, which is like a Super Bowl runner-up Super Bowl of the Canadian Football League. He won one of their championship rings up there.
There you go.
Yeah, and they feuded with the Misfits in Action, a team that I really enjoyed.
You would.
And at some point, I can't wait for you to get to see that. That's coming up more here in the next segment.
Yeah, that'll happen soon. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Well, from there he started teaming with Kid Romeo once Team Canada messed up. This is towards the very tail end of 2001.
Well, that was the first time I got to see him live.
I was teaming with Kid Romeo?
Yeah, in 2001, I got to see, I think it was Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio against Kid Romeo and Elix Skipper.
Filthy animals.
I was like, this is so much fun.
Yeah, they were great, and they won a tournament to become the first ever WCW Cruiserweight Tag Champs 2 weeks before the company closed.
Yeah.
So.
And the last Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions. So that's a cool fun fact.
Yeah. First and the last.
Yeah. He showed up in the Invasion for just a second and then went to HWA, and then they released him in December.
Well, it didn't matter because he wound up in 2002 popping up in the Upstart TNA, where I got my first exposure of him live, where I got to see him with Triple X, who eventually joins Six, another Vince Russo reference right there, Sports Entertainment Extreme. Excuse me. And they win.
Well,
there you go.
Well, I saw the comments and nobody was pulling them up, so I thought I'd go see what all was being said.
Well, I was taking a little drink there, bud. So I would have got to that. Yeah, we only have one commenter.
I know. Well, it's because we only got 2 viewers. One of them is probably us.
It's me.
Yeah, well, you know what? As long as it's out there, that's the important thing.
So we're just popping ourselves
people
here.
Check this out. Yeah, we're here to pop ourselves. It's what we do.
But anyway, Triple X with Low Key and Christopher Daniels. They joined Sports Entertainment Extreme. And they start feuding with America's Most Wanted, which is great stuff. Which brings us to the cage spot at Turning Point 2004.
Sorry, sir. I was sharing our live stream.
Did you get any of that?
Yes, he was with Triple X, the great feud with America's Most Wanted. I loved that era. I loved AMW and Triple X. Triple X was a lot of fun. The interchangeable free bird rule. I got a great kick out of that.
Which brought us to the cage walk.
God, that cage walk was so cool.
It's the greatest spot in wrestling history. Like, you got to say that about Elix.
So, let me put this in perspective for you.
Yeah.
When I saw this happen, the only way that I could watch that spot again was to rewind the VHS tape that I had recorded it on. There was no DVR in my area. There was no internet access to watch it on YouTube. YouTube wasn't even around. We don't do PG-13 streams. We don't do that here. We even went ahead and acknowledged that with YouTube. You know, it's not for children, but you can be 16 and watch it.
That's right. But you know what? He's a 4-time NWA TNA Tag Team Champion.
He is. Elix was a great wrestler, dude.
He's a 1-time 101 kilo champion. He's Cruiserweight champion.
101 kilos and under champion, yeah.
There you go. And he is a 1-time, the first and last WCW Cruiserweight Tag Champ with Kid Romeo.
I really liked him. Wanted him to have more of a singles career in TNA. I thought he was going to be an X Division champion, but it just didn't work out for him. So, Elix,
we love you, man.
We love you. That's till 225 on Elix Skipper.
Come on the show, Elix Skipper, if you want to come on the show at any point.
Tan, I hear some rumors that we're going to have some new sponsors in a few weeks, but why don't you go ahead and tell our fans about our good friends at Stover's Cook?
Well, at Stover's Cookville, they've got liquidation wholesale home improvement. They've got truckload quantities available. You can get them at www.stoverliquidation.com, or you can go check them out at 452 West Broad Street in Cookeville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 931-526-2591 and tell them Till 5 sent you.
That's right, folks. We love our good friends at Stover's. Hopefully, we can get some new Magic Vapor sponsorships. I hear there's some rumors about that.
I guess we will. We've been in the in negotiations. We'll get back to you guys.
We're negotiating.
Yeah.
You know, that's because Till 5's a team. It's a team effort. We don't have a solo president like WCW did.
Yeah.
After their atrocious, uncensored 1999 event there that happened on March 14th. But we're doing a WCW in hindsight here, a rewatch project from that night, from the night that, for some reason, WCW decided to screw over Hollywood Hogan to get Ric Flair the belt in a first blood steel cage match that ended in a pinfall. Or whatever. It was awful. So the next night, they decide to try and convince everybody that it's the greatest day. Ric Flair's in charge.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they're trying to tell us how great it is. And the voice of reason, though, is Mike Tenay. He's like, I don't feel like that was really right, guys. That was kind of mean. And Siobhan is like, shut up.
When the show starts right in the beginning, I don't know if you noticed in the crowd, but there's a sign that says, "It was first blood, damn it."
Well, that kind of sums up everybody's opinion. So, first match we get into here in this rewatch project. See, I got to live this, and I'd forgotten most of it. You never got to see it when it happened, so this is great for us.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely do not remember most of this show.
Well, I think that before we get into the first match, we definitely need to touch on, because it keeps coming, and for the remainder of the show, it becomes an important thing. We start the show with a black and white clip of a random woman meeting David Flair as he checks into his hotel room.
You know, she just wanted to ride up in the elevator with him. That's all.
Yeah.
And then she got locked out of her room. What's going on here? We're going to get there.
We'll get there.
So, we get in. First match is Ming against Jerry Flynn. Ming beats him in, 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes?
According to my notes, we're looking at 4:11.
Okay, 4:11. So Ming beats him real quick. Ironically, Jerry had just took on 2 people the night before, Sonny Ono and Ernest the Cat Miller.
Well, you know how it is in wrestling. If a jobber gets a pay-per-view appearance, he's got to lose real hard the next night.
Fair. Well, so you're going to have to do the rundown in order for us. Because all I have is the matches.
That's fine. From there, they did a Thunder ad for Orlando in April 15th. I guess we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, who cares?
All right, now that they're still doing spring breakout clips. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, they're doing the college campus shtick at that point. They're at the University of Cincinnati with Lodi.
They've got Ricky Rackman is hosting from Headbangers Ball. He promises 2 guests to appear later in the show, so we'll get back to that. We then go to footage of MTV Beach Brawl in Cancun, Florida for a second on the stream that I watched on Dailymotion. And then once we finally get back into the actual show, it's more black and white footage of a woman that tries to make a move on David Flair in the elevator. The random mysterious woman.
Uh-huh. So she's making the move on David in the elevator.
Yep.
Now,
from there, then you find out that the key won't work, and she wants to use David's phone.
And for some reason, David lets her in instead of being like, "I'll just go back down to the elevator, go downstairs with you. That's fine."
So the door shuts, and everybody's like, "Uh-oh," because at this point, you know this woman is trying to seduce David Flair.
Yeah.
Okay. from there, it's time to go back to Ricky Rackman.
I
where he is
love
now.
the constant bouncing around that WCW did at the time.
Yeah.
Because
Made
it's
these notes
super
hard.
distracting. Yeah,
It made the
is.
notes very hard.
So let's just do this. Throughout the episode, we have backstage clips of NWO members trying to claim they're the new leader.
There you go. Yep.
Let's cover it that way because it's going to be way too hard to do this.
I got a real kick out of the NWO members trying to claim to be a leader. I actually wrote here. Let me get to that segment of my notes because I actually did do the notes in order.
Well, I want to say I love that when I was a kid, I was thinking that these guys were all lying to each other. And that really only one of them had actually been told they were the leader. But as an adult, I look back and I say, you know, Hogan probably did say to each one of them, like, brother, you're the new leader. Because that's the kind of shit Hogan would do.
So at some point, Stevie Ray shows up backstage and he's just bitching. He's just bitching, man. As only Stevie Ray's just bitching. That's all there is to say. And then he and Horace Hogan both say that they are the leader of the Black and White NWO.
You know who I got vibes from, or vibes of from Vincent in this segment?
Who?
R-Truth.
Yeah, Vincent was hilarious too. Yeah,
like this is a very R-Truth era of Vincent,
fair.
And I hadn't realized that it was a comedy gimmick. Because back then I was like, "This is stupid."
Yeah, so they're just bitching and they're arguing, and they're just gonna keep the NWO infighting because Hogan's just fucking around with all these guys. Oops, I dropped a second one.
Yeah, that's what happens. So Rick Steiner defeats Chris Adams, ironically, in 3 minutes and 16 seconds.
Yeah.
Because Chris Adams and Stone Cold were friends.
What?
Yeah. Simple, quick squash match. It is what it is. Next match, hands down match of the night. Rey Mysterio
100%.
defeating Billy Kidman to become the new Cruiserweight champion. Great match. That was my thing. Like, dude, wait till you see this match.
The note that I wrote next to that one, holy shit, after I watched that one. It was excellent.
It was. And then it was a fun tag team match after that.
Yep.
You get the Horsemen beating up Hugh Morris and the Barbarian. A fun, guys beating the crap out of each other.
Yep. I have no clue why Barbarian and Morris were teaming together at this point. I went into this episode completely blind.
Oh, Jimmy Hart had restarted the Dungeon of Doom.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
He was restarting the Dungeon of Doom randomly.
I'm glad that I remembered that. I was going to ask you about that later. What the hell were Barbarian and Hugh Morris doing teaming together?
Yeah. And then we get Stevie Ray beating Horace Hogan thanks to Vincent.
Yeah.
Disco Inferno beats Conan in the second longest match of the night.
Oh, God, it was dog shit.
It was. It was so awful. Luger comes out and helps Disco win, which was weird, but okay. For me, the worst part of the whole experience was the TV title match.
Dude,
go ahead.
When I saw that it was Chris Jericho and Booker, I said, "Oh shit, this is going to be awesome." Dude, it was not awesome.
Booker was still learning the solo career at that time. He really was.
It was not awesome.
And Jericho was just kind of done at that point. I hated on the network that they used the Chris Jericho's Y2J music.
Yeah, that's bull.
And then you get to the main event, though, which blew my mind. You get Hollywood Hogan, Kevin Nash, and they're taking on Bill Goldberg and Ric Flair.
Fuck Bill Goldberg.
There it is.
Fuck Bill Goldberg. Thank you.
There's your one.
You can talk about this match because I don't. As soon as I saw Goldberg, I checked out.
Well, it was honestly pretty awful. I just think it's awesome that you had all four of these names on a random tag team match as the main event. In Cincinnati.
I wrote down one note for this. Hogan hits the leg drop of doom, but Charles Robinson refuses to count the pin.
Well, that was their whole thing at the time, man.
Yeah.
They were screwing over Hogan.
But then Hogan pops Robinson, and the crowd went nuts for that.
Yeah, we're getting that Hogan face turn.
Yeah. But that was it. I mean, Goldberg then hits the spear on Hogan, and that's it.
Yeah, I liked Kevin Nash pointing out that he was the first person to beat Goldberg when he beat him like with 800 people's interference.
Yeah. Well, while we're touching on Kevin Nash, let's go ahead and say that the mystery woman from the vignette earlier was Denise Robinson, who was trying to seduce
Charles Robinson's wife,
I suppose.
I guess. Or was it just like clear. Mrs. Robinson? Is that That's
probably what it was. It wasn't really explained.
Okay. Well, that's where we are. I
actually just made the assumption based on the Little Nate stuff happening at the same time, and then David and Mrs. Robinson.
It could be. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It was, to me, it was the worst part of the whole show, even including the Horace Hogan and Stevie Ray match was better.
I got such a kick out of Horace and Stevie.
Than the David Flair backstage segment stuff.
All in all, it was an okay show.
It was really neat, though.
It was fine.
Compare that to an episode of Monday Night Raw now.
It's better.
There's so more happening. More fun. Yeah.
The match quality might not be as great, but it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. So,
but from the nostalgia, I'm afraid, will wear off for me eventually as we're doing this. Right now, it's fun seeing all these great wrestlers I've not seen in years.
That's the beauty of this. If we get to the point that we need to cover several weeks at once, we will. Because I got a feeling that we're both going to get tired of watching a show of 4-minute matches.
So far, I've enjoyed week 1, but I know that down the line, week 6, week 7, week 8, I'm going to run into some shit.
Yeah. Now, we get to Thunder. And we have Bobby Duncombe Jr. with a quick match against Kenny Chaos.
First, I'd like to also say that Bobby Duncombe Jr. died way too young and was really awesome. Did a lot of great work in Japan, and I think could have been a much bigger star.
And I will also state that I was actually a big fan of Kenny Chaos back in the day.
Yeah, really.
I think that it's neat to see that Bobby Duncombe was always treated really well in WCW because he went he was kind of a lower mid-card guy, jobber, and then he won some matches against jobbers, and then the West Texas Rednecks. There was progression for him, looking back on it.
I think they wanted him to be a bigger deal at some point. It just didn't pan out that way.
No. Well, I think that was part of it was timing. If he had another 3 or 4 years, he probably could have been a bigger star for him.
Agreed.
But, we get El Vampiro against Prince Ikea.
Yeah, that was okay.
Very okay. I was a big fan of Ikea back in the day and Vampiro. This match just didn't seem to click.
Yeah.
I was more distracted by the commentary team focusing on Vampiro's time as a lead singer for a hard rock band for the last bit.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I never knew that. They dropped that nugget of knowledge on me, and I was like, is that true?
I don't think so. I think he's just
I'm
been in
gonna
Mexico.
assume not.
No.
Yeah.
We get Rey Mysterio defending his cruiserweight title in the next match against Juventud
In the best
Guerrero.
match of the night. Best match of the night, in my opinion.
It
Great
was.
stuff.
Second best match of the show, of the week.
Agreed. Both featuring Rey, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, because Rey has always been great.
Yeah.
We have Disco Inferno defeating the Disciple.
Well, also, I'd like to say that before that, I want to touch on one little backstage segment because we're still getting infighting in the NWO.
Yeah, because everybody's being told they're the leader. That's why Brian Adams is like,
that's what I was going to say. Brian Adams shows up on he couldn't make the Nitro, but he shows up on Thunder and he says, hey guys, actually, I heard you guys on Nitro, and it turns out I'm the leader of the NWO Black and White.
And rumor has it, he's been told he's going to be the leader of the Wolfpack. And I cracked up so hard at the idea of Brian Adams being the leader of the Wolfpack.
It's the Crush Pack.
Yeah, man. We see him show up after Disco's abomination of a match with the Disciple, the Booty Man, Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Well, then we get Horace versus
Zodiac.
Brian Adams.
Yeah, Horace defeats Brian Adams thanks to Vincent, even though Vincent screwed Horace against Stevie Ray.
Dude, I think I'm really going to enjoy.
Yeah, Vincent is building his own pecking order of the NWO via his foreign object.
Already, I'm looking forward to seeing more NWO lackey infighting. I think that is so hilarious.
Then Ric Flair. Also, earlier we had Ric Flair announce and turn heel immediately after being the face that saves the company. Shits all over Lexington, Kentucky. Talks about how great Florida is, and then strips Scott Hall of the U.S. title. Announces a tournament. Doesn't give any specifics. Says the first match of the tournament is Mega against Bam Bam.
That's it. All right, see ya.
Yeah, and that's it. Flair just come out to crap all over the town, deny Kurt hitting a title shot, and leave.
You know, going in blind, I really thought Bam Bam was going to win this match.
I did. For some reason, well, not for some reason, I felt really bad while rewatching it. How quickly Bam Bam was just fumbled in WCW. Yeah.
He got lost in the sauce.
Bad.
Bad.
Because I feel like he should have been a main event guy.
Hey, but I love Ming, and he also should have been a main event guy.
And then we get what would have been a classic match 7 years earlier on WWF television. Hollywood Hogan against Kurt Hennig.
I have one note on this match, Aaron.
Let me guess. It involves Horace.
Well, it starts out with Hennig hits a big knee lift. Horace Hogan appears at ringside. All right. And from there, Hennig hits a perfect plex, but Horace breaks it up. Hogan starts no-selling punches. Horace tries to trip Hangman, but misses and blows the spot.
And after Hangman, huh?
Or tries to trip Hennig. Sorry about that. Fyter Fest on the brain. My bad.
Yeah.
So tries to trip Hennig, completely misses, blows the spot, and then there's a bunch of confusion where Hogan eventually just picks Hennig up and plants him, hits the leg drop for the 3.
Yeah, face. Now Hulk Hogan's a face. Key things from this night for me, from this week. Let's talk about, we both loved Buff and Scott Steiner as a tag team, and they split on us.
Oh, man, you pissed me off. When I was watching the show, I was so mad. Because you said, oh, you're finally going to get to see some Buff and Steiner stuff. And I love what I've seen of those two. So I was excited. Then they break up on the first freaking episode. I said, oh, okay.
For some reason, we're trying to pretend that the cat is going to get over still.
God.
For me, one of the worst promos I've ever seen in my life, Rick Steiner and Finley trying to get each other to want to fight.
Yep.
You listen to the ring? Listen to the ring this week? Well, we'll fight on the ring then. Oh, my God. It was so bad.
Finley just loves to fight, if you didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. And Perry Saturn coming out and posing while in his...
I forgot about Saturn.
His leather dress. All right, man, cool. Yeah, so that was...
Saturn was so weird.
It was. Now, I did really like to see the... what was your highlight of this whole... Of the first rewatch, what was your highlight?
Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio has proven to me in 2 separate matches in this week that he was so on fire even that early on. Which, of course, we know how great Rey was even in 95. We've talked about it at length on talking about ECW and early WCW.
Yeah,
but Rey was the highlight here. Other than that, I really, really enjoyed the NWO infighting stuff. I thought that was hilarious. I got a big kick out of that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I really like seeing all of the fans and the gigantic pop for Bill Goldberg.
Fuck Bill Goldberg.